It is the hometown of many people, including Big E on this podcast and the guy on the thumbnail there, Jonathan Drouin. I mean, I guess, I don't know, is Drouin actually from Montreal? I don't know. He's certainly from Quebec. How about that? I'll go that far with it. Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche pregame show. E. Rudo coming to you live. Avs taking on the Canadiens, finishing up their quick 3-game road trip in Canada. E, I don't want to step on your 3 keys here, but realistically, Montreal fighting for their lives right now. You got to expect a pretty high-energy game coming out of them today, yeah?
You do, and not only that, they've been playing well. They've been one of the hotter teams in the league since the break. People are ecstatic. People are pumped. I expect their best tonight. They obviously just beat Ottawa at home there. It was a big game for them. They fell behind, but they came back, and boy, oh boy, the crowd's behind them. So this is going to be a dandy tonight. This is fun, exciting. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. Absolutely.
When you talk about teams like Montreal, and I mean for the Avs in more of a general sense, they just walloped Ottawa the other day, which is probably a legitimate playoff team, not even really a bubble team, but a wild card team. You look at games of Minnesota where the Avs have bopped that team. They've also lost to that team. This time of year, is there an expectation that Colorado should start separating from these wild card / bubble teams?
Yeah. I mean, I think the expectation, like you said, is to get away from them. You know, I think it's just, we talked about it, was it yesterday on the podcast? Like, you want them playing their game. You want them feeling good about their game, all parts of their game, and then really going into the playoffs. Wherever it takes you, it takes you. You know what I mean? And meaning like which position you're in. You know what I mean? And again, you got to worry about getting in. Obviously, you know what I mean. It would be a complete disaster if they don't. That's not what I'm insinuating. I'm just saying that you want to get in, and then wherever you fall to it, you fall to it, and that's where you're at. And then you feel good about it. You get into the dance, and it's a dogfight. Whoever you play in the situation that it's going to be, then it's whoever you play, right? I mean, you're going to have to beat good teams, and might be possibly realistically Dallas. Who knows? If it is, then so be it. Who do we play? 4 out of 7. That's who we concentrate on. Let's win. Move on to the next one. Who do we play? Concentrate on that. And it's a long spring, so let's get to it. Let's get to it feeling good about their game, and you know that's kind of what's happening here down the stretch. They feel good about their game, so let's keep it up.
You talk about Montreal playing pretty well, playing pretty hot. Not quite as hot as the Avs have been post-deadline, but Montreal has been quite good. When you're in these two situations, not that the Avs have nothing to play for. Minnesota won today. You're still working on trying to hold down that 3 seed. You're still working to try and catch down Dallas, who also won in overtime today. There's plenty of stuff to play for here, but when you look at Colorado and you look at Montreal, is Colorado just trying to be a little bit more even keel? It feels like Montreal is a team that's push, and they may eventually burn themselves out a little bit, whereas Colorado has a little bit more wiggle room to keep things steady.
You're bang on, and I think maybe I'm wrong. This is just my feeling. What are they? 8-1-1 last 10, and I don't feel that they've really played their best yet. I think they're experimenting with a lot of stuff, as we saw, right? 29.
Ottawa game went pretty well, but sure.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? But even the games before that, you switched to 88 and 29. All of a sudden it was 29, 11, 13. Yeah. Experimenting a little bit on D, right? Who's again, Josh has been out. But, all of a sudden, I don't feel that they've really pushed anything. Mackenzie's been sick. You know what I mean? So I don't feel that they've been full throttle yet, and they're racking up the wins, which is good. It's a good sign, and that's why I feel good about this Avalanche squad. And like he said, it's not like you're trying to rest guys and not be going full throttle, but there's a lot of new guys. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
And since the deadline, from Charlie to even Jack now to a certain extent to Nelson, you're really your sentiment position has been rehauled like on the fly.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of adaptation for some guys. So that's why I say they still haven't hit their full throttle, which I think will be scary once they do. So I'm looking forward to that, but I don't think they've been killing themselves. Yeah, I mean, like by really cruising along, so to speak. But they're also playing good hockey at the same time.
Uh, I kind of want to dive a little bit more into that. We talk about this a lot. Obviously, you have a shorter timeline when you are a deadline acquisition for a hockey team, but guys like Nelson, Coyle, guys like Lindgren have been here a bit longer, but they are what 7 games into their Avalanche tenures now. How fully adjusted are you? How much longer do they need to get fully adjusted? And I say this because obviously Nelson looked great against Ottawa. Coyle's pitching in points too. It feels on paper it looks like these guys are starting to find their grooves a little bit.
Yeah, and the way I look at it, I'll use the schedule as well. So they were kind of at home a little bit. It's new. You're trying to figure things out. You look at the calendar. What do I have? Do I have a family? Do I have kids? Are they coming here till the end of the year? Charlie Coyle, I'm here. I have a contract next year. Totally different situation, right? Maybe than Nelson. You know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe do my kids and my wife go to? I'm assuming Nelson's got kids. I mean, again, I'm talking out of my butt here, but okay, four. Here you go. All right. Brock. I mean, yeah, I forgot he's 62 years old. I get it. You know what I mean? I forgot that he's 62. So he does have 4 kids. So he beats me by one. All of a sudden, like, do they go to the home front in Minnesota? You know what I mean? Because of the unknown, right? Is he not coming back? You know what I mean? Or is
Yeah.
he coming back? You won't know till after the playoffs. So, same thing with, you know, um, Lindgren. You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? So you kind of figured that one out the last few weeks. And then you go on the road, which is awesome because you get to know your new teammates. You get to know the staff more that way. We don't need to rehash that on the road, totally different at home. And then now you're coming back home, and now you know what your situation is this week. You've decided that, A, this is where I'm moving in. B, I found a place, didn't find my kids are going, like I said, to Minnie and my wife. Who knows, right? And now you're just going to play hockey because it's all business here. We can say we're about winning, or you can be about winning. The Avalanche are about winning, and it shows. It feels like it in practice. It feels like it. It's all down to business. That doesn't make mean that it's not fun. It's always fun. Winning is fun. So, but I think that those guys, I think this week will be a big, like, upswing now for them because I think they'll have figured out their situation away from the rink, and now they feel pretty good about their situation at the rink in the locker room, and then it all
Yeah.
flies in together.
We're still waiting on an official lineup. We can tell you Mackenzie Blackwood is the starter for tonight, as expected there. Uh, when you look at Blackwood, would you like to see a quality performance out of him? Not he played fine in the loss to Toronto the other day. It does feel like there hasn't been a ton of work for the goalies really lately, and that's a credit to the Avalanche. That defensively, they've
Yeah,
just given up so few shots as of late.
yeah,
Is there something specific you're looking for Blackwood here in these final 12 games of the season?
yeah. It's no different than a forward or a D. You just want him to feel good about his game, right? You want to make sure you
Sure.
break it down period by period. I think for McKenzie, challenge yourself as well, meaning it's a playoff type atmosphere building, playoff type team, on the other side. And on top of it, this is a guy that was on the Four Nations Team Canada. McKenzie, you want to be part of the Olympics next year? Well, start by beating out a guy like Montembeault tonight. Well, mano a mano, be better than him. Challenge yourself that way. I'm not saying this is an individual game. I'm saying they're fun little sidebars, just like when Kale plays against Quinn, or even tonight. You don't think Lane Hudson's going to want to show himself, compare himself to Kale McCarr, right? You know what I mean? There's all those little games sometimes. You know what I mean? Like McDavid
Yep.
versus McKinnon. It was the same thing for a goaltender. I'm not saying he wants to win Stanley Cups, doesn't care about Team Canada, but somewhere somehow you do, right? You do because all the players do care about playing for their country. So tonight is a great opportunity for you to just kind of be better than the guy across from you. You know what I mean? And Montempo's been shaky a little bit at times here, so you know what I mean. And some people want Dobas in that, not just it's not a given for him that he can be down there down the stretch. So be better than him. So that's a fun night tonight for Mackenzie. Absolutely.
E, let me ask you this as a Quebecois. Uh,
Yeah,
Is there a little more pressure in the NHL on players from Quebec? Because when you look at like not to, I don't want to get too deep in this conversation, but obviously Quebec is a little bit more isolated than the rest of Canada when it comes to things, and they're, as
for
a
sure. Yeah,
province, very devoted to their French speaking players.
yeah.
When you look at a Jonathan Drouin or a Sam Girard, even guys that never played in Montreal, do they feel that pressure to win for Quebec?
Yeah, you do. You know what I mean? You do, and even harder for the home team, obviously, because it's the greatest place to win, and it's a tough place when you're not winning. I've seen, for example, Jonathan is a great example for us here, Drouin. It didn't go well for him there. It was too much. The team was not good. It didn't go well for him individually. There's a lot of pressure, but I've seen it on the flip side of things. I've seen for names that people know around Avalanche Nation, for Patty was outstanding until he wasn't, right? Until
Yeah,
that fateful night, that really changed the Avalanche's franchise. But, Vinny Danfus really thrived. Eric Desjardins, a lot of guys thrived when they were, really good and winning those, obviously, the 1993 Cup. So,
yeah.
but yeah, and it's been hard. Jose Theodore, then all of a sudden gets run out of town, goes to Colorado. Another Colorado uh, former player. So it's a tough place to play. It's really demanding. I don't know why. It's just maybe because we are on our own a little bit, like you said, a little secluded there, the French part of Canada, and I think there's a lot of pressure on the guys to do well, especially for the home team. So but like you said, for a guy like Gerard, those guys coming home tonight, this is fun. This, like Sammy's probably going to have. I mean, again, we don't even. Is he in the lineup? I forgot to
I
look.
doubt it,
But
but not
I
confirmed.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah. So all right, then he can eat hot dogs with his family in the stands tonight because he'll have a bunch of people there at the game, right? Like I said, it's once a year you play there, so it's circled in the summer. The whole town is buying tickets and making the track. He's a good like 6, 7, 8 hour drive from there, so I'm sure they're down there and they feel so proud to have a Quebecer play in the National Hockey League for a team like Colorado that, quite frankly, a lot of people are bitter about the '95 move. You know what I mean, from Quebec to Colorado. But
yeah.
a lot of people became fans of the Avalanche because of that. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of nice that they have one of their own, like Sam, playing for the Avalanche, for example. It's been great. So it's fun.
E, which language is easier?
Well, uh, French is tough to. I mean, it's tough to learn. I got to be honest with you. I mean, English for me is pretty easy to learn. It was easy to learn. But French is a tough. Like I'm going through it with my little guy right now, so it's like, you know what I mean? It's like why there's so many exceptions. You know what I mean? And when
Yeah,
you're writing and stuff like that, it's hard. I feel it doesn't make sense, but a lot of people say that about English. But I mean, I think English is easy to learn. Maybe because I'm not that smart and I
I
learned
feel
it.
like
So
English is easier to speak. English has a bunch of like writing exceptions. French has like
yeah,
800 silent letters all the time, and I don't know.
yeah. As you know, I mean, I'm not perfect, so yeah, we do have silent letters and same thing. We don't pronounce H's, and that's why a lot of French speaking people, when they speak English, then they don't pronounce the H's, and then it can
Yeah.
really go down a different path, the conversation. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's fun.
Well,
I mean, it's for me, if I learned it, it was easy. But again, I'm not that smart.
you're pretty smart, at least when it comes to hockey. I'll give you that. That's
Yeah,
why
fine.
we need your three keys, buddy. Go bust them out. Show us what they need to do. I preferably in English, but I won't argue either way. What are the
I
Avs
know.
got to figure out tonight?
I put it on Twitter. I mean,
Yeah,
Tiff got
saw it.
nervous. I was starting going. I was going to say it in French, and I totally caught myself. No, I'm kidding. Um, Three keys tonight. I think key number one is get on board first. I really believe in that. You know that. I tell you all the time. The atmosphere is going to be electric. You got to weather the storm. I always say first 15, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, weather the storm. Make sure you don't fall behind, and then strike. You know what I mean? You want to strike on the first shift, no problem. But what I'm trying to say is they're going to be coming. That building is going to be humming. Like I said, they are so pumped that they are right there where they are. So I think it's going to be very important. And then take control of the game and you dictate the game. Don't let the Montreal Canadiens dictate. You are the veteran team compared to them. You dictate the game. It's an important game, the end of a road trip. Then you're going home for a couple days off before playing Tuesday, obviously. So I think it's very important to get on the board first. Number 2, known versus unknown. What do I mean by that? Well, Montreal, I mean, obviously, the whole season, starting in the summer, they wanted to be, they used the word mix, right? They wanted to be in the mix, playing meaningful games down the stretch here. And this is exactly where they are and more. They kind of stood pat at the trade deadline. They could have traded the Savards, Armias, and, of the world. And, they re-signed Evans. And they decided to stand pat and really give their those guys a chance, really, and the fans a chance, because they said if they were in the mix, they were gonna go ahead and do what they did. Now, if they were going to be offered 4 first-round picks for David Savard, then they would have made the trade. You know what I mean? He goes, but it wasn't worth it what they were getting in return, so they decided to keep the guys. And the mix is nothing new to the Avs franchise, obviously. Avalanche 2.0, I mean, you would think the last, 8-9 years now? I mean, whatever. Since that crazy season, I mean, after that, they've been in the mix every year. So, they should be the team that's got the controlled emotions and the controlled nerves, and so they should be more in control than the Montreal Canadiens. So that's why I say known versus unknown. So take advantage of that. And then key number 3, match the intensity. They're going to come out flying. The youthful enthusiasm is there. That you can tell they're playing for one another. They like their group. They were ecstatic that, for example, Jake Evans got signed, and you could see it in their faces at practice. They were excited. So you better be ready to out-battle the guy next to you. Bring some passion on display tonight. If you do that, you do those 3 keys, it should be an outstanding hockey game. And again, put the cream rise to the top, and then take the lead and feel good about your road trip there, and move on to go for a little bit of a homestand there, a few-game homestand.
Just a lineup update here. Officially, there is Keaton Middleton out for warmups and no Sam Girard, so defense expected to be the same as the other night. However, on the forward side, no Parker Kelly, Miles Wood stepping in that spot. So a little bit of a change. I don't have injury update.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's 3 and 4, which is I want to segue into that specifically. You got to watch the 2 boring periods of the Ottawa game. How much does those 2 periods help in a 3 and 4 situation like this, or is it still going to be a tired legs type of game?
Well, I think it certainly helped. And then obviously, you're coming from Ottawa, which is down the street there. I'm not even sure if they flew or bust. I didn't look at their itinerary, but you're talking about 4 quarters, to $1, right? It's the same amount of time. You get to the airport, you get on the plane, or you just drive down the street. It's really right that close. So I think that they should feel energized because of the TOI, right? That we were looking for a couple games ago, the TOI spread, which we didn't get the first game of the trip, right? On the Toronto game, but you got it last game. So I do believe it helps. I do believe that they should have some energy tonight. And I think inserting some fresh bodies, I'm assuming Miles is obviously, Parker, I think he's been playing great. So I'm assuming, this is what inserting one guy in. Probably going to see Jimmy next week somewhere and, getting guys in. But all I got to tell you is the pace has been awesome on the 3rd, 4th line. So Miles he's got a task to do tonight. You know what I mean? You can't come in there and all of a sudden be a neutralizer, where all of a sudden the 4th line's got no more jump, or 3rd line, wherever he's playing, he's got no more jump. And all of a sudden it's like you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I got to be part of the solution. You don't want to be part of the problem. So looking forward to his reaction and his entry into the lineup and see how much buzz he's got.
Something. Earn it. Trevor in the chat, VC is out for warmups, but so is LOC. So I'm not sure what the official lineup looks like there, but VC very well could be in. Yeah,
absolutely. And if those guys are going to do a little bit of rotation like that, again, if there's merit, meaning if Jimmy does the job, if Woody does the job, because LOC and Kelly have done the job. So then they get to stay and they get to go back and rotate again, no problem. But for me, I'm all about competition. You're only as good as your last game, and you better have a motor, or somebody else is going to do it if you don't want to do it.
Yep. If you ain't doing it, your job is up for grabs. It's very, very simple on that front. I wanted to look at, honestly, some of these guys that we're talking about, the Woods, the VCs, the LOCs. You always talk about defense being a 5-man unit, right? Yeah, obviously your defenders are your top guys when it comes to your own zone, but the forwards do have to pitch in that way too. And the Avs have done a pretty good job of that of late. But when you're communicating with these forwards, especially when it's Lindgren talking to his forwards and figuring out the systems, or the flip side of that, when it's someone like a Makar talking to a Nelson or a Coyle,
Yeah.
how much communication extra do those guys need right now to make sure that defensive zone is clean?
Yeah, and don't forget, because we tend to forget about them all the time, goaltending. You know what I mean? Between your D and your goalie. Very
Yeah,
important. You know what I mean?
true.
Like all of a sudden, McKenzie might have different verbiage or language than Wedgie. You know what I mean? And I think it's important. I think that's where you saw with Georgie a little bit. And if you're quiet in the net, or not the most English, I mean, I think it's so easy to have a talkative goalie, because it just makes a difference. And I think you got to get used to one another, from, like I said, the goaltending to the D's, and then the D's to the forwards. And it's new for Jimmy. He's only played a couple games. Let's say he's in tonight. Well, yeah, same thing for Lindgren. That's hasn't played with Miles that much. You know tendencies of one another when you've been together for so many years. But there's guys that it's new. You have to figure out. You have to talk. You have to know what makes them tick, and very important. And you can only get that in reps. You don't get that in practice. You get that in reps and games, and that's why it's important to play games. It's important to get out there. It's important to, be part of some experiences together. So I think it's important to get guys in there for that reason, and the 5-man units. And I think it's important to get guys in there for fresh legs too, especially coming down the stretch here, to make sure that, hey, you keep your swing that you're on right now, and then B, to really know what you have at your disposition. I mean, again, I'm knocking
Yep.
on wood, again. You're talking about Sammy G and Manson tonight. It would cripple a lot of teams if they would lose those two types of defensemen. So
Yep.
very important to remember that those are big pieces. But the Avalanche are rolling right now. They keep playing well. I don't see anything different tonight. I think the swag is there, and I think it's important. This is the last game of the road trip. You're going home. So I think there's nothing to save it for tonight. And I mean, again, I'm biased. Saturday night in Montreal. Really? If you can't get up for that, then you're not going to be getting up for a lot of games, because this is electric tonight. This is fun.
All right. Let's get the crystal ball out. Name, number, what do you got?
Okay. I'm between two guys, so I'm gonna go with the score first. I'm going 4-2 Avs, empty netter. I think a hard fought game. I think a fun game. I'm debating between Charles Coyle or Marty Party. So I think I'm gonna go Marty Party. Why those two guys? Just because they're from the East, in the sense they played, obviously the majority of their career in the no their careers in the East. So I think they're familiar with that building. They're familiar with the environment. So God, I was gonna say Charlie, but I'm gonna stick to Marty Party. Somebody in chat said hat trick. I'm gonna go with double for Marty Party.
A couple of goals. I'm thinking 3-1. I do
All
think
right.
this time of year you start to see those scoring totals come down a little bit, especially a team like Montreal that should be playing hair on fire type hockey tonight. So I do think we'll see a little bit low scoring, but I do think McKenzie locks in on these guys. Maybe he gives up one to Caulfield, but that's about it. Uh, I'm going with Azure's first pick there, though. I like Charlie Coyle. I know you wanted to do it. I'm
Well, I didn't
taking
know.
Coyle.
I didn't. I didn't. I couldn't
Yeah,
read Azure. I was.
yeah.
I mean, I was being like between those two, and I really just took Marty at the end there.
It feels like it's his turn, right? Coyle's gotten his, Lindgren's gotten a goal
Yeah.
here, Jury has a bunch of goals. EJ would be fun, just not as realistic as Coyle, I think. So I'm going to go with Coyle on the 3-1 score line for this.
All right.
We also have our pregame picks, though, to get to, brought to you by Bet Bet365, where, of course, things are never ordinary over at Bet365. We both picked the Avs to cover, so I like that. That's my first bet at plus 140. I took a Devon Taves point, plus 132, and then I took Blackwood to have to make some saves tonight. I do expect Montreal to generate some opportunities tonight. I don't know how quality they'll be, given the quality of the Avs defense, but I do think this Montreal team is going to put the puck on net against the Avs. Hopefully Blackwood can stand up to it. Those are my picks from Bet365 for this one. Of course, if you want to go put some picks in, get over to Bet365, use the DNVR 365 code, and of course, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today.
I like our guy Randy with Drouin. That'd be awesome if Drew can score a goal. You want to see a crowd react. You want to see a crowd been so hard on him those years. They were so harsh on him. But this is the type of crowd they are. He scores tonight, they'll give him a standing ovation. That's how nuts it is. Like it's so sometimes it's upside down. But you know what? Cross your fingers for that. Let's go. Let's get one.
A couple of last thoughts here. I'm not really sure where you would stand on this, E, so let me just ask you. Are the Avs in a consistent stretch of the season, or do you think there might be an emotional letdown type of game coming up ahead here, or even tonight?
No, I feel good about it. I think even their losses, we know, like they went to bed at 4 a.m. and they still worked hard, and they just didn't score. And then the Toronto game, I mean, I thought they played a great game, like we talked about. The puck didn't go in, and no, I don't expect a letdown, a stinker. Realistically, what do you have? 12 left.
Yep.
Well, you would think that odds are they might get a stinker. I don't think it's a letdown. I think it's just the usual once every 12, 13, 14 games you get a stinker. You know what I mean? It's just life in a National Hockey League. You know what I mean? But I know. I aside from that, I don't expect much more than that. I expect the Avs to be dialed in. I like the internal competition. I would like the health to come back on D a little more. It sounds like it will take a little bit because it sounds like Josh is a few weeks away. So you're probably looking at game one of the playoffs. Not that I'm a doctor. I just play one on TV. And I'm just going with the math of 3 to 4 weeks that coach said. So, and again, Sammy sounds it's day-to-day. So, but again, we'll see. I feel good about the Avs. I don't expect any letdown. But tonight should be a dandy.
You want to know how it's crunch time for the playoff picture, E? So far today, the Western Conference playoff picture. Dallas won, Minnesota won, St. Louis won, Calgary won, LA won. The only team in the West in the picture that has lost so far today is Vancouver, and Utah is currently leading against Tampa Bay. So, it's that time of year.
Vancouver.
Yep.
When everybody else wins and you lose, it hurts. It freaking hurts, and it's so annoying,
Yep.
So sure. Let's keep winning.
We do have one super chat here before we wrap up the pregame show and head over to the watch along. $10 from Irish, who says a new beard begins, and he goes 3-2 Avs. I like it. We'll see. I don't know. Should I just grow it out from here, or do I shave at the start of the playoffs? That's the question. I'm not sure if I got to start fresh for the playoff beard or not, but we'll see one way or another. Either way, we do have to wrap up our pregame show. Watch along coming your way, so tune in to that, or at very least join us postgame afterward. We'll break down everything that happens, no matter what. We appreciate all y'all hanging out. This has been the DNVR Avalanche pregame show, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
We all silly like the mayor.